What's up, do life in a body you love chicks? We are gonna like riff on the whole topic of purpose today, and not in like a how do I go find my purpose, but I want to like reframe how we look at what purpose is. So you could call this purpose, you could call this like being on the right path, whether you're somebody of like faith and you mean like the path that God wants you on, or maybe you're not a person of faith, but you're like, am I doing the right thing? And I think like all of this starts to get very heavy when it can be a really fun and exciting topic. We like bog ourselves down, like I have to find my life's purpose. And it can get kind of like crazy, right? And not fun and not exciting. And there's one main shift that I had to make that was really, really helpful for me. And so I'm hoping that this will be helpful for you as well. And I made a post about this. You guys may have saw it last week. And everybody was like really, really receptive to it. So I was like, oh, I think we need to dive into this a little bit more. And so for the longest time, when I started to kind of like get into like the personal development space and watching my Tony Robbins videos and, doing all that jazz. And it was like, oh, I need to find my life's purpose. I think I even read, what's the book? Purpose Driven Life or whatever. Good book. I'm not knocking it. But like in my brain, your purpose was like this big thing that you had to figure out. And it was like the one thing you're on the planet to do. And I don't view purpose that way at all anymore. I think that it continuously changes. And I think that we have more than one purpose. I mean, I think I always thought that. I think that part's kind of obvious. But I think that even what you're doing right now, you might be doing the thing that you're meant to be doing right now. Right in this moment, you might be doing all the things you're meant to be doing, but it doesn't mean that that's like the final destination. Like, it's not like once I figure out my life's purpose, I'm done. Like, I figured it out. Cool. Now I get to just like live it and do it. And I don't have to make any more decisions about the path that I want my life to be on. I don't personally think it's that way at all. I think it's constantly evolving. And where I see people getting like, just feeling like really like blah in their life is when they've sort of like settled into like, okay, this is who I am. Maybe they picked a path when they were like in high school where it was like, this is going to be my career. I'm going to get married. I'm going to have this many kids. And then you go do the thing and you accomplish the thing. And you're like, okay, I've arrived. I'm 30. I'm 28, like whatever. And I have my degree and I have my job and I have my kids and I have my husband and we have our house. And so this is what my life is. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm not trying to like push people into being discontent with their life. Like, contentment's amazing. If you're content and happy and you feel fulfilled with the life that you're currently living, amazing. That's awesome. We shouldn't be constantly striving for more. Like that's not it. But I do think as we grow and evolve as people, sometimes the things we're meant to be doing naturally start to evolve as well. And so maybe it's not something as drastic as a career change, but maybe it is, right? Maybe it's you volunteering and doing something different. I don't know what the thing is for you. I think that it's different for everybody. But the main thing that I want to drive home today is just like being open to the possibility that you're meant to do something different, not in a what I'm doing right now isn't good enough kind of way. That's not what I mean. But like for my women of faith, if God comes knocking, are you willing to say, yes, Lord, and go? If you're not faith-based, okay, fine. But you still think that like you want to have meaning to your life. If you're just going through the motions and everything feels like Groundhog's Day, listen, every day doesn't need to be fun and exciting. Okay. Get up, brush your teeth, eat your food, go to work, come home, put the kids to bed. That's fine. It's fine. Every day doesn't need to be exciting. But if you're feeling just in general in life, like, oh, every day is Groundhog's Day and this is just sucking the life out of me and I don't feel fulfilled and I don't feel joy. Okay. Maybe it's a mindset shift that needs to happen. That could be it. Maybe you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be, but you just need to practice gratitude. That could be it. Or maybe if you feel the pull to doing something else, maybe you're meant to be making a pivot. And it's scary, especially if it's a big pivot, right? Or it's going to require more of your time. Because y'all know I am always like, take things off your calendar, do less things. And I truly stand by that 100%. Sometimes you need to say no to things to be able to do that. So you can focus more on the things that are really your purpose in this season of life. I don't know. It's going to be different for everybody, but are you open to the idea that sometimes you might have to pivot? So I want to illustrate this by sharing like a few major pivots that I had made. And none of these were quick. Some of this took me years to kind of like muddle my way through, but I want to share my own personal journey with you because I think it illustrates the point that we don't always know where we're going. Now, there's no way for me to share this without talking about God. So for those of you listeners who aren't believers, sorry, you can take this and apply this secularly as well. But like, I can't share my personal journey without sharing how I interpreted it and what I feel like was going on for me. Right. So, but I think it highlights the point that like, you might be doing the right thing right now and still be called to do something else later. So if you've been around for a minute, you probably know that I'm a nurse, or I was a nurse. I'm not even sure how to talk about it anymore because I don't practice nursing anymore. But I had worked in the hospital from a young age. In fact, my first job was in a doctor's office in high school. Right after high school, I went into working in the hospital setting, doing clerical type things in an emergency room. I always loved the hospital environment, love the ER. It's chaotic. I'm chaotic. It's a good vibe, right? Okay. So then I'm also like a young single mom and I'm like, I need a good career with good benefits, blah, blah, blah. So cool. Go through nursing school while I'm raising my two little humans. And it was quite the journey. I actually kind of enjoyed it. Yes, it was like really busy and chaotic, but it was fun. And so then, okay, I've arrived. I'm a nurse. Great. I loved it, but immediately knew I need to do something else. Not because I didn't like nursing, and not because the money wasn't good. It was, but I quickly realized that like, just to make ends meet, I have to be away from my kids more than I want to. And right now, they're my more important purpose. Like, yes, I felt like I was like, nursing is where I was supposed to be, but so was momming. And I didn't like how many hours I had to work. And I didn't like people telling me that at the end of my shift at 7 a.m, because I was stuck working night shift for the first 7 years of nursing, which I hated. Night shift is not for me. It wrecks me. It's when I developed a bunch of autoimmune issues and put on most of my weight. Granted, that's had a lot to do with Pop-Tarts and pizza rolls as well. But nonetheless, there were things about that I didn't like. Okay. And I wanted to buy back some of my time. And so that led me down this rabbit hole of network marketing. And I was like, this is going to be the thing. And I was fully convinced that I was supposed to be with this company doing network marketing. Like, yes, I'm called to do this. Now, in hindsight, that wasn't my calling at all, but it was a stepping stone to get me where I needed to be. So it wasn't wrong. And I don't look at it like it was wrong. And I don't look at it like it was a waste of time. God put me there to learn certain things and to make mindset shifts in me, like getting me out of like the 9 to 5, so to speak, framework that I had lived in and grown up in. I don't come from a family of entrepreneurs. This was a new way of thinking for me. And network marketing kind of opened my eyes to that and taught me a lot about what to do in business and taught me a lot about what not to do in business. And it led me to different coaches who I stumbled on through network marketing, but that ended up being like business coaches. So now I'm figuring out, oh, you can like have your own business. And that's like way more fruitful. And I can do it my way. Because within network marketing, I was still stuck doing things somebody else's way. I'm not really in control of the products. I'm not really in control of how the products are shipped, blah, 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 blah. If you guys are gathering, I'm a little bit of a control freak. And if I'm going to put my time and effort into something, I sure like to be in control of it. So going into business for myself, natural progression. So you would think that I would just jump right at that as soon as I realized that it was a thing. No, I did not. God was giving me very clear signs that I should be doing this, but I was ignoring those signs because I was a nurse and a network marketer. I was attached to those identities. I worked hard to become a nurse. I was really good at being a nurse, and I had a lot of student loan debt still to be a nurse. And so how do you walk away from that? Like, that just doesn't even make sense, right? And not to mention breadwinner of my house. And this was like how we primarily supported our entire family, was through my nursing income. So it wasn't something I could just like willy-nilly just be like, okay, bye, I quit. And so I had friends, like I was kind of like accidentally health coaching is what happened. that's a long story. I'll save you guys all those boring details. But I had a couple of friends who are health coaches and personal trainers, and they would reach out to me with help with their clients. And then they would be like, you're just like so good at this. Like, this is what you're meant to do. Like, you're a health coach. And I was like, I'm not a health coach. I'm a nurse and a network marketer. And I drug my feet about it forever. And then one day, you know how it is. If you're a Christian woman and you've ever just been ignoring the things that God's telling you to do because you think your way is better, eventually he just kind of like hits you over the head with a 2x4 and he's like, listen, dum-dum, I don't know how many signs I got to give you. But he started making things blatantly obvious. And I won't get into the details, but it was like pretty wild, some of the stuff that happened. And so it was like, okay, fine. So shift gears. Now, when I made the shift, which I'm so glad that I did, it was not easy. So here's another thing that I think we get confused about if we're on the right path or we're living our purpose, however we want to word it. We just think it's going to be easy. No, it's not. Anything worth doing is going to have parts that suck. It is what it is, because you have to grow as a person. You have to grow into your purpose. You have to grow into the next phase. So the way I see it, God's always lining up the next thing that we're supposed to go and do. Now, I can drag my feet getting there, or I can hurry up and get with the program. Normally, what I've experienced is that when I drag my feet, I just make the process painfully slow for myself. I still end up going where God wants me to go. And it's like, well, geez, why didn't I just do that sooner? But that's okay, because there's life lessons along the way, right? But when we get, like, we say, yes, okay, yes, God, I'm going to go do this thing, whatever it is. And then we think, because I'm doing the thing God wants me doing, it's just going to be like super easy and it's going to be smooth sailing. There's not going to be any bumps in the road because God's just made, like, going to wave his magic God wand and like bless the whole thing. And it's like, oh, dear girl, no, that's not how it's going to be. So there were lots of bumps in the road from me making my most recent transition, which was away from the bedside and into business for myself full time. Lots and lots and lots of bumps. It's still been amazing. I'm still super happy. I am blessed in so many different ways. And I'm also stressed in so many different ways that I didn't even really take into account. Or I did, but I just downplayed how stressful those things would be. But listen, anything that you're doing, there's going to be pros and cons to every single thing. And that includes you getting with the program and living your purpose. There's no guarantee that when you do the thing you're supposed to be doing, that it's just going to be easy street. Will it be worth it? Always. Always. I don't regret any time I ever said yes and did the thing I'm supposed to be doing, but it comes with some bumps in the road. But I think that's how it's supposed to be. I don't really think it's about us landing in a career or us landing like with whatever the other identity is, being a mom, whatever, even being a mom, like it's going to change. Like when they're brand new, like they have to be with you 24/7. You're literally feeding them from your breast if you're breastfeeding, or from a bottle or whatever. They can't do anything for themselves, right? So they're just always there. And then they start moving and they start back talking. And anybody who's had a 3-year-old knows what I'm talking about. And then they become teenagers and they wipe their own butts, but the problems are bigger kids, bigger problems, right? And so they're breaking your heart in all different kinds of ways. And then they move out. Okay, that hasn't happened for me yet. They're adults, but they're still here. But I already know I am going to feel so relieved to see them go. And I'm also going to lay in my bed and cry for like a week. I'm going to simultaneously be celebrating and also feel like my whole life just ended. Because I don't really want them to go away, but I do because it's what they're supposed to do. You know what I mean? Like, and they get on my nerves and they leave the drawers open and I'm like, why aren't we adulting better? Go away. And then at the same time, I'm like, my babies, stay with me forever. There's always this paradox, right? So like, even with your role as a parent, like you're never going to not be a mom now if you have kids, but what that looks like is going to change. And we have to be able to like roll with it. We can't stay rigid and want to keep everything the same all the time. It's like, we have to be able to just like go with the flow and pivot. But I think it's really important that we do it with intention and that we, if we're Christians, that we do it with like an open ear to God. Like, okay, I know what I want to do. My way usually just messes things up. What do you want me doing? Let's be clear. I don't like say these prayers and God's like, Nikki, become a health coach. It's not how it works for me. Maybe it does for you. Cool. I wish, but no, but you figure it out. Right. And when you don't hear from him, you go with your own gut, your instinct, your intuition, whatever you want to call it. Things are going to work out regardless. If you trust yourself and know that like, okay, maybe this is the right thing, maybe it's not. I don't think there is a wrong thing when we're talking about making life changes, because no matter how things work out, you always learn something. So I can look back and go, gosh, network marketing was such a waste of my time. It was so stupid. And I cringe at some of the things that I did and some of the messages that I sent. And oh dear heavens, like, and I was fully convinced that like I was gonna make so much money doing this. And you can, and I'm not knocking it. Okay. It's just few and far between, but I'm not knocking it. I met some of my best friends. I learned a lot, and it led me where I am. Without network marketing, I would Keep It Off Academy wouldn't exist. This podcast wouldn't exist. It was a stepping stone to get me where I wanted to be. So while I could look back and go, what a waste of time. What a complete waste of time. I laugh about this all the time, you guys. The whole initial driver for me wanting to be my own business owner was so that I could have more time with my kids. And I quit my nursing job when my kids were 18 and 20, I think. So like literally when they became adults, I now get to stay at my house and work. Like, oh, the irony. And I could be mad about that. And I could be like, well, I missed out on all those years. I'm not bitter about it at all. That's the path God wanted me on. I don't know why it took so long, partially because I'm stubborn and I didn't pivot as soon as I should have. But there was lessons that I had to learn. My mindset needed to be ready. Different things needed to happen for us financially, like just so many things that had to just get lock and step along the way for it to work. And so now I look at it and I'm like, fine, well, whatever. I worked the whole time that my kids were little, but now I can be a really involved grandma, right? Now that I have freedom with my schedule, I can be at all the games, I can babysit, like whatever the things are. And so I don't like sit and have a pity party that it didn't happen when I wanted it to happen. I'm grateful that it happened now, even with all the stressors that come along with it. So like all of this to say, if you decide you need to make a pivot on something, it doesn't mean what you're doing right now is wrong or it wasn't where you were supposed to be. You're probably exactly where you're supposed to be. Like, but that doesn't mean that that's where you have to stay, right? So our purpose can change and evolve. But when we start doing something that we really, really, really love, years later, when we no longer love it or where it's no longer where we're supposed to be, if we've just fully absorbed that as our identity, then it's really hard to make the shift. So identity is such a crazy thing because it affects so much of how we act and the decisions that we make. And I don't know, I still identify as being a nurse. I'm probably always going to identify as being a nurse. I still have my nursing license, but I do like to tell my friends when they send me random medical questions now, I'm like, I'm no longer a nurse. You have to get a different nurse friend. I don't know anything. Go away. They know I'm just teasing and I love them. But nonetheless, what are you happy with what you're doing right now? And do you feel fulfilled by it? Listen, happy doesn't mean like every day feels amazing. Happy is probably not even the right word. Maybe fulfilled. Or is there something that's pulling at your heart where you're like, maybe I'm meant to go in another direction? And the stories that I'm telling myself are keeping me stuck, or fear is keeping me stuck, or it doesn't seem practical, or no, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm meant to do. And this is what I have to do now because this is what my degree is, or whatever the things are that we're telling ourselves. Just be open that sometimes your purpose could shift. And if you don't feel like you've ever found your purpose, maybe you're putting too much weight on it. Maybe you can find purpose and fulfillment in whatever you're doing right now. Like, this sounds crazy, but can you find purpose in doing the dishes? Like that, you guys are going to be like, what is she talking about? What is she on drugs today? But like sometimes when I'm doing my dishes or when I'm vacuuming my house or like whatever, like those are things that used to just drive me insane when I was working and I had a business and I had little kids. And now that I say I'm older, like I talk about myself like I'm some old lady, but now that I'm older and my kids are grown, I have a little bit more time and life doesn't feel so chaotic. I can actually take a step back and be like, yeah, okay, well, I don't love vacuuming, but I'm actually really blessed that I have a house to even clean. And I'm really blessed that I'm doing these dishes right now, picking up after all these giant idiots that I live with that are these men in my house, even though sometimes I want to punch all three of them in their faces. Like, I'm like, do you guys not see me cleaning up the dinner mess from the dinner that I just cooked for all of you? What is wrong with you? And don't get me wrong, they're not always off the hook. I do make them get up and do things too. But sometimes I have a moment where I'm doing the cleanup after the dinner and the boys are all sitting around doing whatever, playing video games, being stupid, being boys, whatever. And I'm like, and I just feel so grateful that I have humans in my house that I get to pick up after. Like, yes, it's a chore, but our chores are also blessings too, right? And so maybe you don't need to go find some grand purpose. Maybe you're living it right now and you just need a little bit of a reframe to appreciate it because you are busy and stressed out. And so it's really easy to get sucked into the like feeling overwhelmed. Maybe you just need to sit and focus on all the blessings that you do have. Or maybe it's time to pivot. Who knows? I don't know, but are you open to it? Are you open to feeling those little nudges pulling you in different directions? Are you putting too much pressure on yourself to figure out your one life's purpose? I mean, sure, there's like the Mother Teresa's of the world who have like this grand purpose, but my purpose has never been that grand. And I think I'm cool with that. I like having multiple different things that I do and that represent who I am. I'm not just like one thing, right? I'm all of these things. And I like that it changes. I get bored easy if I do the same thing all the time. Why do you guys think I worked in the ER for so long? It was every day was a different day. And even there I could get bored, right? So I think it's cool that we aren't stuck doing the same things over and over and over. Every season gets to look different. What do you want the season of life that you're in right now to look like? What do you want the next season to look like? So yeah, that's my random ramblings about purpose. And I would love to know what you think about this. Like if this is something that you've been pondering, or if you have a different way of viewing this is like a conversation I would love to have. Oh, by the way, pay attention, you guys, in a couple of weeks. If you like these kinds of conversations, I have something so freaking exciting coming for you guys. I'm hoping to have it ready mid-August as like a little bit of a preview. How much of the details should I give you guys right now? All right, so maybe I'll let the cat out of the bag. It's going to be a little bit of like a membership for Do Life. And we're going to talk about all these different kinds of things in great, great detail and with actual like steps for us to take together as women. It's going to be so flipping amazing. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And actually, I might end up doing like a little bit of a secret pre-launch. So if you want to know more about it and you want to be on that list, shoot me a message on Facebook and just say Do Life. And I'll know what you mean. And for those of you who've been filling out that survey that I sent out, thank you so much. Super, super helpful. Okay, that's all I want to say about that now. So I'll catch you checks next week.